So thank you everybody again for joining us. Special welcome to our ICC T20 World Cup umpires, Allahudien Paleker, who's actually on holiday at the moment. He hasn't stood in any game or been involved officially. And of course Langton Rusere, who stood in today's game, Nepal versus Netherlands. Let's give them a warm welcome. I know Langton is flying out early tomorrow morning to the Caribbean, so we're not going to keep them long, but it's really great to have you gentlemen here, and I think we all aspire to be where the two of you are, so thank you so much for your time, and we hope to suck a little bit of knowledge and experience out of you this evening. So myself and Abdullah are going to be facilitating the session. But we want as much interaction as possible from all of you. We've got a few topics that Avik has asked us to present on. These are apparently issues that you experience as umpires here in the US. So just touching on a very important matter, I'm going to ask Paleker and Langton to talk us through teamwork between on-field umpires, and we're going to start with that. After that, Abdullah is going to take us through setup at the bowler's end and also setup at the striker's end, switch up and switch down. Then I'm going to take you through getting into position for runouts at the bowler's end, and it's very important that we get that right, because we will get criticized if we're not in the correct position to make the decision. And then Vijaya is going to take us through ball management, which apparently is becoming an issue here in the US, with a few former international players up to their old tricks. So we as umpires need to know what to look for to prevent them from getting away with ball tampering. And then last but not least, Abdullah and I will take you through tips of how to best judge LBW decisions. I think Saturday and Sunday, every game, LBWs are always the most controversial decisions. So we hope to teach you something new, but also I implore you guys to shout questions. In the interest of time, we would ask for questions to be left until the end of each presentation, right? So Paleker and Langton are going to take us through teamwork, and then after the teamwork presentation, we'll have a maximum of 5 minutes questions and answers, and let's keep those questions related to teamwork only. And then after Abdullah's session about setup, we'll take questions and answers for setup, and so we will continue. And then at the end, we will have a general question and answer session where you can ask absolutely anything about umpiring, and we can stay here all night if you want. I know Langton can't, I know Paleker can't, but Abdullah and I are here at your beck and call, as long as there's a couple of drinks involved afterwards. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Langton and Paleker. I don't know what they've got in store for us, but I know they're a great team, so over to you guys.
Making is and we know that the players Pakistan. There was a cord down the leg side. Langton played away from his body. I heard a noise. I wasn't sure, but I heard a noise. And I glanced over at Langton, and because I know him and I trust him, and he showed me his bat, and I gave the batsman out on my teammates advice. Okay? When we got together, he said, "Oh, I hope that's out because I don't want to sell my partner down the line." I said, "I don't care about that." I wasn't sure. I looked at him for some sort of tip, some sort of help. He gave me that indication, and I went with it. If I got it wrong, I take it as advice. Not him, but I trust him. Okay, there will be instances where you may not trust your partner. For example, there's a bouncer and he goes wide ball, and you at bowlers and you think, but that was below us. The laws allows us, at the end of the day, it is the bowlers and umpires, it's his responsibility to make that call. So there will be certain times when you don't know, right? So teamwork is very, very important. Once we step on across that boundary road, we are one.
So in teamwork, I think the most important thing to me is respect, because you can't work well together if you don't respect each other. And I'll tell you, like Ali said, in the Under-19 World Cup, we were basically together for the whole month. And I understand that he's Muslim. I need to create an environment where he's also feeling that I feel respected and I'm comfortable. And if you create that environment before a game, it makes it easier when you go onto the field of play to then work well together. So it's about respecting who you're working with. They might be older than you, they might be younger than you, whatever the case is. If you know who you're working with, you respect the person and you try to make them feel at home, it makes it easier when you then have to umpire together on field. At a game this morning with Water, we've had our differences in the past, but coming into this game we said, let's leave all that behind. This is what we're going to do. I pulled wide over the head and he went with me because he said, we've ironed our differences out, I respect you, we're going to work as a team. And I looked across to him at one point, and he told me, I think that's over the head. Whether I thought it was or not important. But because we've got that relationship now, we decided teamwork is paramount to what we're doing today. Because remember, there's the batting team, there's the bowling team, there has to be the umpires team as well on the field. So if we can't work well as a team, it's going to set us up for failure. Because the other person is going to be a distraction to you. You don't know what they're getting, you don't know how they're communicating. My recommendation is before the game, not on the day of the game, before the game. Let's say you are appointed to a game, Vijay and I are appointed to a game together. The teamwork doesn't start on the day. It starts long before the game. What are we doing? Where are we umpiring? Maybe he knows the ground better. How does the pitch play? Who's playing? Those small things make it easier for us to then work together as a group. And I'm umpiring with Palis here. And I go, Palis, there's no halal in this area. Halal food you can find there. It makes it easier for us to then get that group going. And we're more than likely going to be in sync in match day.
Yeah, so Langton's touched on those about getting to know your partner and getting to know him before the game. I look at myself, for example, what I do in terms of preparation. As soon as the appointment comes, you look who you're appointed with, you get to know who your people are. Like, we know people in circles. For example, I've just been fortunate that my games is with all guys that I've not stood with necessarily, but know them, I've spent time with them, so it makes it a bit easier. And he's also stood with, like I said, with the guys and so because I know the person, I know what makes him click, I know, it's just a simple example, like Bernard, when he's on field, he's not the type that wants to hear things in his ear all the time from the TV umpire. So now you need to know that so that you don't create that animosity, because what is this guy telling me? I know there's 2 balls left, I know it's I have to signal the power play after this, or I know it's streaks after this. But part of our routine is that I need to do that Okay, so what I now do is, I'm still going to do it, but instead of pressing the button and speaking to him, I'm going to speak to myself. So that I can change my routine. So now, I've sacrificed my routines for the benefit of the team. Because I know that's what he doesn't want, but it's what I want. So there is going to be sacrifices along the way. So you need to put yourself in the middle and say, if you look at the word team, there's no I in the word team. So you need to sacrifice to work together and make sure on the day the team does well. Okay? You're going to have differences of opinion and stuff, and that's important as well, because at the end of the day, when you get into the change room, you have your debrief. I don't know if you guys checked about games, some of the things that happen during the game, whatever, something that will give attention to the authority guys, ball tampering, whatever. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to fill this? You may find one person will say, I'd like to report that player for dissent. The other guy will say, I don't think it was dissent. So if that happens, it's important that we as a team, because when we fill in the report, we're going to say, we the umpires report this person, so and so and so. So sometimes you may not agree with that person, but because of the benefit of the team, to make it more concrete, you've got to sacrifice.
I'll commend this man here for being, in my view, one of the best team players in the world. So we've all read the COCs, right? We've looked at the COCs, right? And he figured a way, okay, this stuff is difficult. How do I make it simpler for myself by putting it on a one page? And he was doing it for just himself. He shared it with another person and another person. And I can tell you today, 95% of umpires umpiring world cricket use what he came up with. That one pager that he did was just for him. It's being used everywhere in the world today. That's excellent teamwork. So for me, teamwork is also about finding ways to simplify things, not just for yourself, but for the next person and the next person. So if you figure, okay, this person struggles, I, for example, struggle with calculations. I go, how can I make it easier for the person I'm working with next game? Or in a T20 game, I just need to know every 7-10 minutes, we lose, we're losing 5 overs. Easy as that. So he then goes, oh, okay, this is what's happening. Stuff like that. And he came up with a formula that is used all over the world because it was about teamwork for him. And I commend you for that. Well done.
Maybe ask you too, you mentioned that Langton showed you the bat in that game. Are there any other non-verbal signals that you use in a match? Not for decisions, but for example, if the ball is a full toss and it's close to waist height, are there something that you can share with the guys as to how they can help each other?
Yeah, so as Langton mentioned, so teamwork doesn't start before that. So you discuss with your colleague before the time, okay, how we're going to help each other. If it's down the leg side, and am I going to show, if I'm 100% sure, I'm going to show bad. If I'm not sure, I'm going to keep my hands down. Sometimes there's an LBW shout, the ball hits the top of the flap, and nobody really appeals, so you don't have to answer that. You look at your colleague, and we sometimes show this, like for height. So, if is it going to hit, or is it, so you have a reference point for the next appeal. Especially here now, both of us have never umpired in the US. Okay? The pitches we saw yesterday, it was bounce and seam, and from what I saw the other night at the Dallas ground, it started to get a bit lower. The second innings, unfortunately, this is a US, it's not televised, so I didn't watch any of Langton's match today, but I did check this match. So things like that we communicate. So bounce on the ball, bounces. So if it's above, waist high full tosses. Because it's the square legs, he needs to help the bowlers in umpire. So if you think it's below, you show this so that and a nice confidence so that everybody knows. If it's tight and you're not sure and you still think it, just show that because your body language and how it sounds is important. So if people look at you straight away and you got your hands down, nobody's going to say anything, even though it may be above. But if you're going to go, or is he going to know like half out? This guy's not sure. So, just be firm in your signals and help each other. So the tries, buys, if the keeper misses the ball, you actually really know that he's missed the ball, just show that. So it doesn't matter how obvious it is, because it makes your partner look at you all the time. So you have that, you may miss something that's because you now think it's a clear buy, and he may be showing no ball because there's maybe a fielding infringement. And so you're not looking at him because you now signal the scorers that way. So just that eye contact all the time. And that helps with teamwork, because you keep yourself and your colleague in the game all the time. Sometimes the game could be going nowhere, or wicket falls, you get together and say, stay focused, stay in the game. Because nobody remembers the 10 great decisions you made. Everybody remembers that one error that for them cost them the game. But they don't look at the 10 drop catches that they've had in the game, because they don't look at it. Okay. So those are just the tips that, with eye contact, try and help each other. The non-verbal signals, the one for over, that type of thing. Batsman's moving around, so it's out of his crease. You can show him, he's foot out. In fact, we do that every ball. So when there's a new batsman is a foot outside his crease, or back foot is just inside. So it just helps you calling in this help up when you shout. And Abdullah will share a perfect example. Abdullah in the SA 20. It was the first ball, the very first ball of the competition, and it held it up with me. And I let him take me through that. What happened in that appeal? Because from front on, it looked absolutely stone dead. And it was Rusere from the decision, and he reviews every decision. There's one review for us.
So the first ball, Restockley bowling left arm over. Now Restockley, the Englishman, is a fairly tall guy. So new ball. So these are Tom will cover later. These are the extra or additional information that you do take into account when umpiring. You cannot just look at ball into pad. That's another info that you do take into account. So in setting up, I know Reese is tall. I know he gets a bit extra bound. So that was always at the back of my head. And then. So Reese running in. So as Reese running in, I hear strikers in saying, back foot on the popping crease, back foot on popping crease. So now that reaches the back foot on popping crease. So Rusere van der Kroost is not as tall as Reese, but he's tall. So now, he's bowling, Rusere plays forward. It hits him here in front on, and you get that feeling like, good. But then at the back of my head, I was saying, taking strikers in, saying to me, back foot on popping crease, meaning Rusere being tall, that was a fairly good strike. So distance ball is travelling is quite a bit. And then Topley bowling and Topley being tall, and it's a new ball. So then I just went with my gut. I said, no. I went upstairs and saw that it was going over. But the point I'm trying to make, how vital my strikers in umpire. Promise you, his information swayed me. 80% of that decision was based on strikers in telling me that back foot was on the popping crease, so that travelling distance was a big amount, and that made me go not out instead of going out.
One thing that you need to also think about with teamwork is, what would I want my partner to help me with? Then you try to help your colleague with as much of that as possible. If, as Abdullah just said, a bowler's a number, you don't have dip. All you see is the stumps. You don't know how far the guy is from the stumps. And he's not going to tell you after the ball is played. So if you can give as much information as you can to your colleague before the game or before the ball is played. So we had that today where one ball the guy's here, 2 balls later he's back here. So in a DRS game, those millimeters make a difference between out and not out. So help your colleague as much as possible. And in my view, be as selfish as you can by sharing as much as you can. I know that doesn't quite sound right, but if you think about it, the more you're helping your colleague, you're also staying in the game. If you're signaling, for example, 3, 2, 1, leg by, whatever it is, you're staying in the game, and it helps you when you then go to bowler's end, because you already know what to expect in the game. Your mind is in the game, and it probably makes it easier for you to manage things and get decisions, hopefully right. But as Pali said, it's not so much about decision making. There's a whole lot more to umpiring than decision making. Managing the game, communication, the teamwork we're talking about now, diffusing pressure and potentially situations. We almost had something like that today, where batter and bowler go at each other. If you get help from your colleague, you step in, you get it out of the way quickly. It happened in the first game. The two umpires came together and it stopped straight away, didn't it? Because the players thought, hang on, if these guys are working together and they're seeing what we're doing, then we need to stop. Especially when you're dealing with conflict, both of you should be involved. Don't say I'm not involved and it's going like it's got nothing to do with you, because it will have something to do with you later on. So no matter how inexperienced you are, player management is everywhere. No matter how much cricket you've umpired, you still need to manage the game. So let's not be too scared to get involved and support our community. You might not agree with certain things, but the more you get involved in these things, the easier it becomes for you to manage things as you go along.
And what you'll find is if you do those 3 or 4 things together, everything, the decision making will take care of itself.
Any questions on teamwork, guys, for Alice and Langton or anyone? Yes, Vikram.
If you're doing this non-communication, if you're doing non-verbal communication between strikers and bowling and umpire, how do you manage making a signal for the strikers? How do you manage making a signal to your bowling and umpire? And then, for instance, if you think it's bouncing something, you make that signal, it's a sort of soft signal, the bowling and umpire makes the decision. How do you manage the players see that as well? And then they might say, bowling and umpire overruled, and they might point to the strikers and umpire and say, he thinks it's whatever call. And then there's a sort of like issue. How do you manage that? Making it subtle enough but not.
99% of the time you're going to go with your colleague. 99% of the time you're going to go with your colleague. That's just the 1% where, if I go back to 3 years ago, it was a domestic T20 final, and my colleague was squealing, and there was a clear no ball above waist, and he was in squealing, and he was looking, was in Port Elizabeth, so the grandstand is quite low, and there's lights on the grandstand, and he didn't see it. I was 100% sure that it was above waistline. That's what flicked it down to fine leg. I got into position and I looked at him, and he just showed me that he didn't see, he lost it. And I called it no ball. The players went ballistic because they said, "You didn't call it, why are you calling it?" I said, "Because at the end of the day it's my call." He said, "I'm making the final decision based on it." So I backed myself. TV replay showed it was above waistline, but because he didn't pick it up, so it's in that instances where you may or it's not sure. But 99% of the time you're going to go with it. And it's again, we discussed that with each other before the game. If it's one for the over, I'm just going to go and pick one, whatever, whether, and you as a bowler thing, you'll know as soon as the ball bounces and it goes up, and it goes to the keeper, you need to look at it immediately, because it's a potential one for the over, potential wide, potential bounce, so it's that non-verbal. If you look at it immediately and it doesn't show anything, and players won't pick it up because they're not going to really be focused. So it's just, that's how you manage it. Just pick up the things that you need to discuss before the time.
Do you work differently for games with DRS and games without DRS? And having DRS in a game does put pressure in a teamwork, or like is it eases pressure?
Well, there's definitely a lot more pressure because nothing goes unnoticed with DRS. I think there was a game where the pistol where he had a no ball and his hand fantastic game this season where my colleague gave a no ball, dropped his hand, and then referred, and we're not supposed to refer because it was called on field, but nobody saw that. I think Abdullah, yeah, actually,
TV
the three of us, wasn't that good. So we got it wrong. But as a team, we said we took it on the chin. We said we got the decision wrong. We shouldn't have sent it up. Accepted. The one captain marked us down. We said fine. We admitted that we got it wrong. So yes, there is a bit more pressure when there's TV and things like that. So you need to be synced. You need to work together because TV picks it up and then they broadcast it and they show. And I'm sure we switched our phone on. I think before we did that, there was phone calls to the match ref, what's going on, you know. So there is more pressure. So it was important that we stuck together. We said we got it wrong, we admitted it, and tomorrow the sun will rise. Nobody died.
Vikram said something that you probably just answered now about working together and calling stuff wrong. My advice to all of us here is, if you're at square leg, for the most part, if you're at square leg, don't be afraid of making those marginal calls. 1. 2, don't be afraid of your colleague not taking your call, because it's part of the game. It's gonna happen. And don't think about what the captain is going to say in that report. It's an opinion. Don't worry about what they say in that report. Sure, I know it makes a difference to you guys because you're trying to go somewhere, and maybe the person in charge of the Umpires and Scorers Association here looks at, this captain said this, Aaron Jones is a high profile player, he's captain of this team, he said that, so he's right. Don't worry about all of that. Do not be afraid of being wrong. For as long as you go out there and go through your processes, so what if you thought it was a beam and it wasn't? What I think is important for all of us is how we assess ourselves. You go, okay, my teamwork, my signaling, my this and that, that's what's important. Not what a captain puts in a report. And your question on DRS or not, for me personally, I actually think it's harder when you don't have DRS. Because you spend a little bit longer thinking, so that appeal was loud, people didn't look happy. And then bang again, there's another appeal. You start to sort of compensate. Whereas if you have DRS in a game like today, I know, shit, I got this wrong, let's move on, let's go. It doesn't matter. Because I don't think about wrong or right decisions. I actually like DRS because you get closure right away. And you know, I got it wrong, I got it right. Then you refocus, you go to the next ball. Whereas in a non-DRS game, or non-televised game, the appeal and the players' reactions make you start second-guessing yourself. For the most part, you'll be right. But at the back of your mind, you start thinking, man, this guy did this. They don't look too happy, snatched his cap from me. It'll mess you up. Don't worry about players' reactions. Trust yourself. You're really good umpires. Or you're going to be good umpires at least. You are there because you are the one getting paid to make a decision, not the players. Don't worry about what the players think. No, I actually said to him, what I said to him, I was talking to colleagues now when he said, how was the game? I said, the game was great, I wasn't. So I said to Rod after the game, at least I was consistent. I gave both captains out, and they both reviewed it. No, so Rod said to me the first one. Rod, with the first one, he said, I did not hear a thing there. Then with the second one, as soon as I gave it, he said, I actually knew when I gave it that straight away. Even before the captain review, I was saying, I hope you review it because for me, I'm not bothered with the overturns. I'm bothered if someone doesn't review and I'm wrong. Because it sticks with me. That's what he said.
So your partner actually.
Yeah, he gave it. Yeah.
First one made it.
He wasn't sure. What I don't do, and in a DRS game, that's what's probably different to a non-DRS game for me. I do not look to square leg because I'd rather get it wrong on my own. In a DRS game, I would never look to square leg, ever.
Last question on teamwork. Again.
My question is, as a usual routine, right, when you're partnering or you're officiating with a new partner, you're meeting for the first time, you try to report with the communication, you try to confirm the communication. do you do it with your partner whom you know but you don't really know?
I do it with people that I don't, me personally. So I'll tell you, I've been communicating with this man here for 6 years now. Today's the first time we've met. When we then umpire together, I'll go, this is that, this is that, this is that. So we've had that relationship going. So if I umpire with you tomorrow, we'll have a lot of talking before the game, because I think that builds that relationship. If you're going to, for me, umpiring is just like batting. If you're going to bat with someone, you talk about, do we drop and run, do we do this, do we do that? When you say yes, do we take the run or not? We talk about all those things. And what I would say, first time I umpired with Pali, we spoke about, if I say it's one for the over and you don't think it is, don't worry. There are no egos involved. I'm not going to take it personally, because you shouldn't. So the more you communicate verbally, the easier it is to communicate non-verbally on field. You get to see certain cues. What I do when I'm umpiring, I study the person I'm umpiring with. So I go, okay, they've got this trigger movement. So when before they go over, they do this. Before they do this, they do that. Because you're also studying the person you're umpiring with. And the more you talk to them, the more you look across to them, the more you then see, oh, this is what this person does on field. So I don't need to think when I'm umpiring with Palis anymore, because we've done the last tournament we umpired together. We did 4 games together in the tournament, and in this tournament, like you said, we've been together for 2 weeks. We actually came into the States together and went to Barbados, so we've been together for that long. And I knew this was Palis' first men's T20. I said to him, I've worked with this guy before, I've worked with that guy, and he said to me, I've worked with this guy, I've worked with that guy. So we've got that thing going, even though we've worked together for a long time. We still build it. I haven't umpired with Abdullah, but we talk all the time. I haven't umpired with Tom, we talk all the time. Because for me, umpiring just doesn't start and end on the field. If I'm umpiring just to be on the field with any of you guys, then I think we'll be missing the point. It's about helping each other grow. And the more we help each other grow, the easier it is for whoever is going to be on your international party. You will all support him, because you will, oh, hang on, Vijay is there and he's representing all of us. And that's what it's about.
I think for me, that teamwork talk was amazing. I got goosebumps from a few of the examples that they made. So let's give a round of applause for